Ida B. Wells was not trying to make history. She was trying to make change, a God-centered change maker. See, before there was a Black Lives Matter movement, a generation ago in the 1800s, Ida B. Wells was saying Black Lives Matter. She put her life at risk. I mean, I wrote some things and some people threatened me, but I'm not sure that I was at risk because Ida B. Wells took that fight for me. When I tell you, she set the tone for Black journalists. Most of the time, what you learn in journalism schools is separate your journalism and your activism. You're supposed to be this neutral party, which is a lie. You can't not feel what you feel. And what we get from her, how to use journalism to make change. Journalism to raise people's consciousness.
If Ida B. Wells would have had Twitter back in her day, my God.
When you talk about courage to come in that era, in the 1800s, talking that smack that Ida B. Wells was talking.
It's amazing that she lived to year 1931 because she did not mind speaking her opinion and what she felt about race in America.
And she was totally and dedicated and committed to the uplift of Black people. She is what we would call a race woman. Her objective was, how can I protect my race from the terrorism that Black people experienced through lynching?
Ida B. Wells understood race. She didn't run around saying, well, I'm just a journalist, I'm just a this. She understood her place as a Black woman. And her power came from Black people.
She came out of the Black community and she studied the Black community and she defended the Black community.
If Ida B. Wells would have had Twitter, then all of primetime news networks would be in serious trouble.
See, it wasn't like she was in what they call the mainstream media. Ida B. Wells was outside of the mainstream media and her ideas became mainstream.
For Ida B. Wells, heart and head went together. We knew where her heart was, but she also used her head, which would be involved in research. So it was not just a one-way thing that she just put ideas out there. She did her work and she did her research. And if a person wanted to get into a discussion with her, she had the material to back it up. And then she had the courage to know that no matter how controversial it was, she did not back down.
So when you think about yourself in 2021, talking about how brave you are, think about 1859, 1890, 2 minutes out of slavery or something. And
if Ida B. Wells had Twitter, there would have been a whole lot of mad and upset white Americans in this country. But then I think about it, she would have gone after a lot of African Americans who are politicians who she would feel had sold us out.
And even now for women who do that, that is very risky because even in 2021, there are people who think that women ought to just shut up and follow.
W.E.B. Du Bois in his classic work, The Souls of Black People, in which he talks about the mobilization of Black people for politics, economics, and also socially integrating new people who moved to various communities.
She did not get along with Booker T. Washington because she did not buy his philosophy. She did not get along with W.B. Du Bois because she didn't buy necessarily the philosophy, I think, of integration. That was a little bit too slow. She had beliefs and she stood for those beliefs.
I mean, how bad are you when you can say to the greatest luminaries of your time, well, I don't agree with that. I don't have to buy everything you selling.
If she had Twitter, then those who were doing dastardly deeds in the dark, well, she would, as in her words, shine the light of truth on those dastardly deeds and expose them.
You could say that she was and investigative journalist, not just for civil rights, but also for the women's movement. She wrote for different newspapers, and one of them being the American Baptist in Kentucky.
When you have your own means of communication, and what the American Baptist did was very significant, you got to be able to tell your own story without those gatekeepers.
One of the great leaders of the Black church movement among Baptists was Dr. William J. Simmons. Perhaps one of the reasons that Dr. Simmons will live on throughout history was because of his empowerment of Black women.
So Ida B. Wells's connection to William Simmons is not uncommon. And I could imagine her and Simmons probably having debates because she was that kind of woman.
This is what she says about Dr. Simmons in her autobiography. He was the head of their work among the colored people and was also the president of the State University of Louisville, Kentucky, which of course would later become Simmons in 1918, and president of the National Baptist Convention. He was truly a big man, figuratively and physically. He wanted me as a correspondent of his paper and offered me the lavish sum of $1 a letter weekly. It was the first time anyone had offered to pay me for the work I had enjoyed doing. I had never dreamed of receiving any pay, for I had been too happy over the thought that the papers were giving me space. For the next 3 years, I was on the staff of the American Baptist newspaper. In every way he could, Dr. Simmons encouraged me to be a newspaper woman. And whatever fame I achieved in that line, I owe in large measure to his influence.
And so as we think about Ida B. Wells and our other heroes, we got to understand that none of them just did it on their own. So whenever I hear somebody tell me that nobody helped them, they did it by themselves, I say run from that person. We all stand on the shoulders of somebody else. I stand on the shoulders of Ida B. Wells. There's a list of women blazing trails, going places. But let me say this, there's somebody standing on my shoulders. And I'm looking for the sisters that are coming forward now and let new leadership emerge. So for me, Ida B. Wells, Fannie Lou Hamer, there's so many sisters, contemporary sisters. I look at them and I see Stacey Abrams, Latasha Brown. You know, I see these sisters as continuing what those women started and the role they play today. When I look at Stacey Abrams and all of them, and all I do is look at them and smile and say, look at Ida. That's Ida's babies.